everyone, welcome back to Storytime. We are currently reading The Willigrews 2 by Terry Tarbox, and Terry is a local author who has very kindly said that we can read his stories for Storytime, and the illustrations in this book are done by Terry's niece, and her name is Wendy. So we are still climbing the mighty stump of doom, and we've just bumped into a witch with very bad dress sense. So let's now carry on, and this is part 4 of the Willigrews and the mighty stump of doom. So get yourselves comfortable, sit down, and let's find out what happens.
"Who dares enter my domain?" she croaked. "How dare you, little insignificant green things? You will regret disturbing my snooze. I will curse you both and turn you into dinner plates." Having said this, she took a broomstick from beneath her black robes and pointed it at the Willigrews. Rusin and Longstint shook with fear. They couldn't run. They were trapped. The witch began her curse. "Lumpkin, dumpkin, a waddling goose." However, before she could finish, Duffy flew bravely into her face, knocking her off her feet. She rolled about on the ground, cursing and shouting at the little bird. She got to her feet and pointed the broomstick at Duffy, who was coming in for a second attack. "Don't do it, Duffy," warned Rusin, but it was too late. A flash of blue light from the broomstick hit Duffy, and he spiralled down, hitting the ground with a thump. He lay completely still. "You killed our mate," cried Longstint. "You horrible, wicked witch. You'll pay for this." "Oh, will I? Will I?" the witch cackled and pointed her broomstick once again. She'd just started with the lumpkin dumpkin stuff again when Rusin remembered the turnip leaves. "Quick, Longstint," said Rusin urgently. "Get your leaf out, spin around 3 times and run." No sooner had he done this than they disappeared just as the witch had finished her curse, and a flash of blue light made a direct hit on a toadstool where they had been. True to the witch's threat, the toadstool had turned into a dinner plate. Rusin and Longstint hid behind a clump of moss and watched the witch. She was enraged. "When I catch you, I will not only put a curse on you, I will put a curse on your next-door neighbour and your next-door neighbour's budgerigar," she screamed. Just then, the unfortunate Duffy caught the witch's eye. "Ah," she said, walking towards the little bird's lifeless body. "This looks like it might make a tasty scrunnock pie for me. For me supper, even." "Oh no," thought Longstint, then shouted, "We're over here, ugly witch," then started running. The witch turned her attention away from Duffy and started towards Longstint's voice. The Willigrews started to run around in circles, shouting as they went, in order to confuse the witch. "We're over here," they said. Then, "No, we're not, we're over there." The witch was so confused, she ran around in circles, firing blue flashes in different directions. Before long, the forest floor was covered in dinner plates and various other items of crockery. Then, horror of horrors, the witch turned and looked straight at the little green twosome. "Got ya!" she squealed with delight. The turnip leaves had stopped working, and the Willigrews were now visible again. The witch started her chant again. "Lumpkin, dumpkin, waddling goose." Longstint turned to Rusin and said defiantly, "I don't know about you, old pal, but I'm not at the right stage in my life to become part of a dinner service. Let's get her." With that, they ran towards the startled witch, and grabbing a leg each, they tipped her over. Longstint took her broomstick and threw it into the bushes. The witch shouted, "Not me broomstick! I can't carry on without me broomstick." When she ran into the bushes to retrieve it, the Willigrews picked Duffy up and ran as fast as they could away from the witch and into the distance. When they felt they were safe from the witch's clutches, they sat down on the side of the path and laid Duffy on a pile of soft moss. Rusin stroked Duffy's little feathery head. "Poor little Duffy," he cried. "So brave. You gave your life to save ours, and now we can't help you." Longstint knelt beside them, wiped a tear from his eye and said, "Goodbye, little Duffy, faithful friend. We shall miss you."
Just then the Scrunnock gave a big twitch, then a medium-sized twitch, then a big twitch, then, to the delight of the Willigrews, said, "I should hope you would miss me. How would you find your way without my superior avian navigational skills? Your flying sat-nav." Rusin and Longstint were so relieved and happy that they did the Willigrue dance, hopping about on one leg and flicking their earlobes with their index finger. After Duffy had rested for a while, the little troop carried on up the mountain. They left the mossy forest and the witch behind them and headed for the next encounter. They didn't have to wait long. "What's that up ahead?" asked Rusin. "It looks like a field of giant toadstools." Sure enough, before them was a wonderful sight. What must have been thousands of toadstools. Red ones with white spots, white ones with red spots, yellow ones with no spots, and ones that looked a bit like they were once invisible. "Wow!" exclaimed Duffy. "It looks like a fungi forest. Let's explore." On entering the forest, they were greeted by a strong smell of mushrooms. Then a soft voice came from on top of a toadstool. "Welcome, friends, to my forest. I am Chloe, the kindly fairy. I'm so delighted to meet you." The fairy floated down from the toadstool and landed softly on the ground before the Willigrews. She was very beautiful, dressed in green lace with sparkly green wings which glittered and glistened. In her hair she wore 3 bright, shiny golden flowers. She took Longstint's breath away, but soon gave it back, as she thought he might need it. "Oh, I do love visitors," said the fairy. "You must stay and have some refreshment. We have fairy cakes, but they're not made from real fairies." "Yummo," said Longstint. "I'm partial to a nice bit of cake." "Then you shall have as many as your little green tummy can hold," promised the fairy. Fairy Chloe then sprinkled some green fairy dust onto the ground, and a large pile of cakes in every colour of the rainbow appeared as if by magic. Well, I suppose it was magic, but you know what I mean. Rusin and Longstint got stuck in, and Duffy, pecking away at the delicious cake, said, "Crumbs, I do love crumbs. My favourite bit is the topping. That's the icing on the cake." "Oops, I almost forgot," said Rusin, handing Chloe the recipe that Princess Tabitha had given them. "And the princess sends her royal regards." "Jumbly dumplings! How delightful! Tabs is such a thoughtful person," said Chloe, scanning the ingredients. "I will have to go shopping tomorrow to buy some pomegranate flour and jangleberry juice." Having eaten their fill, the trio thanked Fairy Chloe and said they would get going again. "But before you go, allow me to give you all a gift," beamed Chloe. "I know, I will turn your noses back to their normal colour." She sprinkled fairy dust on the 2 noses and the 1 beak, and all was well in the nose department. "What a relief," sighed Duffy. "Thank you so much. We will always remember you as a kind fairy, with a heart of gold and wings of green, and very nice shoes." Just then he paused. "I'm waffling again, aren't I?" Both the Willigrews and Chloe nodded knowingly, then had a group chuckle. Just as they were leaving, Chloe gave them each some fairy dust in small paper bags. She explained that all they had to do was sprinkle it on and make a wish. Warning them to use it wisely, she waved to them as they trundled off on their way. They spent the next few metres just climbing past fairly uninteresting sights. Rusin thought he saw a fierce triceratops hiding behind a tree, but it turned out to be just a rather large bandicoot wearing a reasonably fashionable baseball cap and playing a violin, so nothing unusual. However, they all saw the next thing. The dark, blurry thing was back. It dashed across their path, turned to look at them, and disappeared around a corner. What they saw made them shiver with fright. It had dark, dark green scaly skin, with vivid red eyes and uneven fangs protruding from its wet, slavering mouth. Duffy spoke with a quivering voice. "I really hope I'm wrong, but I remember when I was a chick, my mum told me about such a creature. She called it the beast of the moonlight shadow and told me to avoid it at all costs. Always remember, she told me, if you see this evil monster, fly away as fast as your wings will take you." "Scary or what?" said Longstint, trying to sound brave. "Anyway, Duffy," asked Rusin, Why didn't you do what your mum said and fly away? Well, my mum also said you should never let your friends down, replied Duffy. They were all a little more watchful as they continued their trek up the mountain. They were about halfway up now, and the going was easy, not too steep, with few obstacles. They did meet a group of orange spiders, however, who shared a cup of chickweed tea with them and spoke about politics and philosophy in the world of the spider, which was sort of interesting, but uneventful, so they carried on up the mountain. Duffy, having flown ahead, came whizzing back and breathlessly told the Willigrews there was a small crowd further along the track. He explained that they looked like toy soldiers. They were heavily armed and their legs were quite big as well. Rusin and Longstint walked on for a while until eventually they came upon the group of soldiers. They approached, not knowing what sort of reception they would get. However, they soon found out as a gun was pointed in their direction. "Put your hands on your head, keep still, and don't move a muscle, or we'll fire," barked the first soldier. The Willigrews followed the orders. The soldier walked over to them and prodded Rusin in the chest with his rifle. "We are the prison guards, and you've got to come with us," he ordered. They were taken to a building at the side of the track, where a large barred door was opened, and they were pushed inside. To the Willigrews' dismay, the guard told them that they were to be imprisoned forever with no chance of release. "But we've done nothing wrong," protested Rusin. "Why are we being punished?" "I don't know really, but I'll think of something. Now be quiet," replied the guard with a sneer. One of the other guards then shouted, "They're too green." "That's it," said the first guard. "That's your crime. You're too green." He then walked away, leaving the Willigrews locked up. "I don't like his attitude," complained Longstint. "He's being greenest." As they sat trying to think of a plan, there was a movement at the back of the prison, followed by a voice that said wearily, "You'll never escape. We've all been here for years and we've tried everything." Rusin turned and was astonished to see 6 figures walking towards him. These were not just any old figures. No, they were not Marks and Spencer's figures, but green figures. They were Willigrews. They turned out to be the missing 6 whose names were on the monument. Oh my goodness, how exciting! So they've found all the Willigrews that they thought had gone missing. So come back tomorrow where we will continue reading from the Willigrews 2 by Terry Tarbox and find out what is happening on the mighty Stump of Doom. So I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.